Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Donna Villa from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. In a message to the World Food Forum, or WFF, taking place in Rome, Pope Francis reminded participants that in a world impacted by interconnected crisis, the centrality of the human person must never be forgotten. At the WFF's opening ceremony, the Holy Father said that the message of Christ challenges us to make decisions and promote initiatives for the good and the future of all humanity. Extending his greetings to all those who strive to eradicate hunger and poverty in the world, Pope Francis called to give ourselves in service to others in a spirit of fraternity and solidarity that must inspire relations between individuals and between peoples. He said, we must be aware that food is a gift of God of which we are mere stewards. The forum at the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization will conclude on October 21. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the prefect of the Dicastery for Laity, Family, and Life, has invited all those who wish to take part in the World Youth Day 2023 in Lisbon to make it an opportunity to build bridges between cultures and nations. In this dicastery that is organized by the International Preparatory Meeting for the grand event, the meeting gives a bird's eye view of the event and explores the culture and identity of the host city of Lisbon in Portugal. Teams of local organizers are meeting with representatives of bishops' conferences, youth ministries, movements, and congregations at the three-day meeting in Fatima, which will conclude on October 19. Cardinal Farrell urged everyone to participate in the preparations for the World Youth Day, which will be held from August 1st through the 6th in 2023. Over 600 people have died and thousands were injured in the worst floods witnessed in Nigeria in recent years. As many as 1.5 million people have been displaced as the West African country braces for more high-intensity rain. According to the country's National Emergency Management Agency, the catastrophic flooding wreaked havoc in 31 out of 36 states, including the capital, Abuja, affecting more than 2 million people. The death toll continues to rise, with over 200,000 homes destroyed and more than 70,000 hectares of farmland flooded. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs called on the respective state governments to prepare for more flooding by evacuating people living on flood plains to higher grounds and provide tents, relief materials, and fresh water. The first two episodes of Season 3 of the TV series The Chosen, based on the life of Jesus and his disciples, will premiere in theaters on November 18. The series portrays Jesus through the eyes of those who met him, and the third season will center on the disciples continuing to struggle while following Jesus as the group returns to Capernaum. This was announced on Facebook by Dallas Jenkins, the creator, director, writer, and executive producer of the much-watched series. Jenkins had been frequently asked as to when Season 3 was being released, and in response, he posted recently on November 18, episodes 1 and 2 back-to-back only in theaters. The first two episodes will later be available on the show's free streaming platform, and the remaining 6 episodes will launch weekly on the app in December, Jenkins said. Based on its app, The Chosen has had more than 400 million views on the first 2 seasons, behind-the-scenes look, and the cast Q&A. Archbishop Cushley of St. Andrews and Edinburgh in Scotland said the term assisted dying was misleading. The prelate said that efforts to legalize euthanasia in the nation would send the wrong message that lives that entail physical and mental suffering or severe physical disabilities can be considered no longer worth living. In a letter to the faithful on Sunday, he wrote, "This is not only wrong in principle, it could also have a terrible and tragic effect on vulnerable individuals at their weakest moments." Liam MacArthur, a Liberal Democrat member of the Parliament, is pushing the Assisted Dying for Terminally Ill Adult Bill. Critics say that the bill risks undermining the provision of palliative care for the dying and efforts to prevent suicide. If this law is passed, it will further erode how our society values human life, which has already been grievously undermined by legal abortion, said the Archbishop. He also urged the Scots to sign a petition to oppose the proposed legislation, saying it would further undermine the value Scottish society places on human life. A childcare provider in the state of California here in the U.S. is suing her former employer after she was allegedly fired for her religious stand on LGBT issues. Nelly Parisinkova was fired by Bright Horizons Children's Center in Studio City for refusing to read out books with homosexual characters in them. The lawsuit was brought to the Supreme Court of California. Nelly, who is a believer, said that she has worked there for 4 years, adding that she was aware of the books, but that there was not an opportunity for her to read it. She was then forced to leave her job after her new director, Katie Callis, learned about her convictions and objected to them. In the lawsuit, Nelly stated that she had requested the management to exclude her from narrating these books. However, the authorities rejected her plea and dismissed her. Ms. Parisinkova is fighting against her termination with the support of attorneys from the Thomas More Society. She accuses Bright Horizons and its director, Katie Callis, of breaking Californian laws that forbid religious discrimination in the workplace. The abduction spree targeting Catholic priests and the faithful in Nigeria is continuing. In the latest incident, unidentified men kidnapped Father Joseph Wiagu of Onitsha Diocese in Anambra State. The priest, who is the vicar of St. Joseph's Church in Anambra East local government area, was kidnapped while he was traveling home from a funeral mass. Seeking prayers for the safe release of the priest, the Archdiocese of Onitsha issued a statement confirming his abduction. The press release signed by Archdiocesan Chancellor Father Prudentius Emeka Aro urged sincere prayers for the priest's release. He further sought the intercession of Our Lady, the Undoer of Knots, for the priest's safety and the kidnapper's conversion. According to Ukrainian officials, Russia had hit Ukraine with another wave of strikes using kamikaze drones, causing 5 explosions in the capital, Kyiv. At least 4 people were killed in the attack on Monday, October 17, that targeted several energy facilities. These drones are designed in a way to crash into a target and explode, destroying themselves in the process. According to the mayor of Kyiv, a young couple expecting a child in 3 months were among the victims. Separately, Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal declared that the attacks had damaged vital infrastructures in 3 regions, knocking out energy in hundreds of villages. In a single day, the Ukrainian Air Force claimed to have destroyed at least 37 drones. The incident occurred precisely 1 week after Russia unleashed a 2-day missile barrage over Ukrainian cities, damaging the nation's water and energy supplies. A man in Scotland has been sentenced to 5 years and 3 months for igniting a fire that led to the devastation of Glasgow's historic St. Simon's Church. On Friday, October 14, Ryan Haggerty was given the prison sentence at the High Court of Glasgow after pleading guilty to willful fire raising and endangering human life. He was also given an additional 4 years of probation. The arson committed in July 2021 turned the 19th century third oldest Catholic church in the city to ashes with no possible restoration. The fire also damaged a nearby house where an elderly nun resided. More than 30 firefighters battled to put out the fire. Witnesses at the scene of the crime reported seeing Haggerty coated in soot. He was taken into custody a month after the fire. According to BBC, Haggerty, who has a prior conviction for intentionally starting a fire, accepted the offense. The church was founded by Father Daniel Gallagher, an Irish priest, in 1858, for the expanding Irish population in the region. In a move to tackle the country's economic downturn, the Sri Lankan government has raised income and corporate taxes. This could force highly qualified professionals to move abroad to seek jobs, causing a massive brain drain. The country's new president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is also the finance minister, proposed that anyone who has 100,000 rupees or 282 euros as monthly income must pay tax, which is 40% of the former threshold. In addition, corporate tax was also raised from 24% to 30%. The island nation is facing a terrible financial crisis. To tackle this, the government was forced to amend the tax law and is also seeking economic backup from the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. Many professionals in the country are already leaving because of the economic and political crisis. The new tax amendment is seen by experts as the final nail in the coffin of the careers of professionals locally. After the abduction and detention of a Catholic bishop by the Sandinista regime of Nicaragua, a Catholic priest has been kidnapped and arrested. Father Enrique Martinez Gamboa of St. Martha's Church was kidnapped on October 13. The news of the priest's detention was announced on Twitter by Father Uriel Vallejos, who has been in exile in Italy since September. Father Gamboa is the 11th Nicaraguan priest to be deprived of religious liberty by the dictatorship of Daniel Ortega. Father Vallejos also sought an end to the persecution of the church and the liberation of the abducted priests. The regime is targeting the church for being vocal about civil rights violations and corruption. The Archbishop of Valladolid in Spain, who is also the spokesman of the National Episcopate, slammed the discrediting of pro-lifers who pray in front of abortion clinics. In a tweet published on Sunday, October 16, the prelate criticized the labeling of pro-life supporters who pray in front of such facilities as ultra-Catholic or on the extreme right. He said that there were only ad hominem arguments reserved for those people who go against science, ethics, and the voice of God. The socialist government has been tightening its leash on pro-life activists who pray outside abortion centers. Last April, an amendment to the country's penal code was made. It made prayer vigils and counseling on the premises of abortion facilities a punishable offense that carried a jail sentence of 3 months to 1 year. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.